I am an old woman, named after my mother.
John Prine, married father of 3, is 69 years old. Cancer has taken its toll, disfiguring his neck and jaw, affecting his voice.
Down to the bottom of a hole in the ground.
But nothing, not the passage of time, the societal shifts, the cultural trends, nor the vagaries of an ever-changing music marketplace can diminish the power of his words.
Don't you ask me any questions about the medals on my chest. Take the star out of the window and let my conscience take a rest.
Many artists seek expression through the extreme, the incongruous, the extraordinary. For John Prine, it's just the opposite.
Yeah, for me, it's more like write about what you know. And most of the people I grew up with I consider them to be ordinary people.
Small town, bright lights, Saturday night.
John Prine and his 3 brothers grew up in the working-class Chicago suburb of Maywood. His ancestral ties to rural Kentucky and his father's love of country singers coaxed the needle of John's musical compass to the magnetic allure of lyrical storylines about people of humble means, basic desires, and imperfect qualities.
Lydia hid her thoughts like a cat behind her small eyes, sunk deep in her fat.
Common folk, just like us, their mundane lives, faults and weaknesses, so perfectly articulated in song.
You may lose your wife, you may lose your family, and you may lose your man just to keep your sanity.
Poetic gifts wrapped in John Prine's unique but admittedly imperfect guitar-picking style.
I've always said, as far as guitar picking, if you make the same mistake at the same time every day, people start calling it a style instead of a mistake, you know. It's a mistake. You were supposed to use 2 fingers and your thumb, and anyway, I thought...
Are you using thumb and 1 finger?
I'm using thumb and 1 finger.
A musical miscue that has become an unmistakably recognizable cue to listen up, to pay attention, to take note as the story unfolds.
Yeah, I walk down the street I used to wander.
A somber story,
Broken the speed of the sound of loneliness.
a humorous story,
He's got muscles in his head, they never been used.
a compelling story of how the storyteller came to be recognized as one of America's greatest songwriters.
Sam Stone came home.
3 of his most well-known songs are central to the remarkable account of John Prine's musical ascendancy. Sam Stone chronicles the sad decline of a Vietnam vet, war-wounded, then addicted, then dead.
Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios.
Paradise was written as a tribute to the rural birthplace of his parents.
And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lay.
The small Kentucky town of Paradise, wiped off the map by a coal mining company. And then there is Hello in There,
We had an apartment in the city,
sung from the lonely point of view of an elderly man.
and me and Loretta like living there.
Imagine being at a Chicago bar during an open mic amateur session in 1970, when a young John Prine, responding to a dare, stepped on stage with his guitar, the mailman by day, who had never performed in public.
I sang Sam Stone, Hello in There, in Paradise. First time I got on stage, and nobody clapped. They just sat there and looked at me. I thought, Jesus, really must be bad. Must be worse than I thought, you know. And then the owner came up to me and offered me a job. And I said, doing what? And he said, singing every week. I said, for how long? And he said, 3 sets of 40 minutes or something like that. And I said, I don't have 40 minutes of songs. So I went home and wrote what became the rest of my first album, out of fear, you know.
That highly acclaimed first album launched a career that has lasted nearly half a century. At the sound check before a recent Huntsville, Alabama concert, John and his longtime sidemen Jason Wilbur and David Jakes went over a playlist of songs that have no expiration date.
I started the engine. Yes, I gave her some gas.
Songs that endure just as Prine has endured. The resilient artist soldiering on, his time-worn voice and scarred body symbolic of the human frailty that is so often the hallmark of his lyrical storylines.
After I went through my whole deal with cancer, I didn't think I'd still have a voice. You know, I'd go to radiation and some of the other treatments that people that had the same thing that I had, and they'd come out with these voice boxes, you know, and so I thought that's where I was headed. And I thought, well, buddy, you're not gonna be out there with a guitar around your neck, you know, like doing that, you know. So I was so surprised that it took about a year after I had my surgery before I got the physical strength to you know, get words out above a whisper. And when I did, I thought, well, this is it. This is what I look like, you know. I'm not gonna go around wearing turtleneck sweaters, you know, and acting like, you know, I didn't have no surgery. But I just went ahead and we went to Johnson City, Tennessee to do the first show, which is kind of an out-of-the-way place. But the people showed up, oh boy, you know, the place was sold to the rafters and everybody was quiet as could be. And, you know, I opened my voice and started singing. It was right where I'd left off. Blow up your TV, throw away your paper.
The key a bit lower, the articulation a bit more gravelly. As a young man, John Prine imagined life as an old man.
Well, it'd been years since the kids had grown.
Now he is that old man, singing his timeless classic Hello in There with a keener understanding of the aging process and an even greater appreciation for the songwriting process, especially the mysterious ways in which ideas are conceived, phrases formed, sometimes even catching the author by surprise.
When I wrote Hello in There, it brought me to tears, you know. And I've learned since that that's a good thing, because they don't lie. John and Linda live in Omaha.
To be creative is to be curious and open-minded to the winding, looping paths of disparate ideas and thoughts, all looking for connections, and sometimes finding them in an oddly brilliant manner.
I'd heard the song John Lennon sing, Across the Universe, you know, somewhere across the universe. And there was a lot of echo or reverb on his voice. And I got to thinking about like hollering into like a hollow log or something, going, hello, hello down there, hello in there. And that's how the idea came about, you know. The basic idea for Hello in There. Mm-hmm. And then I was really heavily into writing about characters, giving them names.
Someday I'm going to call Rudy.
Rudy, when I got to that part, I remember I had to stop because I didn't have a name for the guy that he worked with. And at 4:30 every afternoon, the lady across the street, this Italian lady, came outside to call her dog in, and the dog's name was Rudy. And she went, oh, Rudy. And I went, Rudy, you know, wrote it down.
So what does that say about where ideas come from, right? They're out there.
Dogs.
You know that old trees just grow stronger.
To me, that's what a writer does. It's like you just look around you. You don't have to sit and make up stuff. If you just take down the bare description of what's going on and not trying to over-describe something, then it leaves space for the reader or the listener to fill in their experience with it, and then they become part of it.
They have some ownership of the song, too.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to go to jail with you. You know? They're part of the crime.
So if you're walking down the street sometime,
John Prine wrote much of Hello in There on his mail route, where silence was his friend, and where the underrated creative concept of thinking inside the box played out in a very literal way.
They had these relay boxes that were 1.5 times the size of a regular mailbox. On a really lousy day, you could climb inside. I used to take a ham sandwich and get in there, and at least the wind couldn't blow at you. And I'd sit inside, and you could kind of get an echo inside of these things. So I'd sing and eat my ham sandwich and then pop out and go on my way, you know, once my hands defrosted.
Hands that were still learning new guitar chords. 5 of them, in particular, that he was practicing in sequence.
So I took all the new chords I learned and put them in Hello in There, and they just came out in the right order.
So what does that say?
It says I'm really lucky. As the cafe was closing on a warm summer night.
When asked about his favorite composition, he most often refers to Far From Me, a song written 40-some years ago about a teenage boy slowly decoding his girlfriend's nuanced signals that the relationship will soon be over.
She asked me to change the station. Said the song just drove her insane. But it weren't just the music playing. It was me she was trying to blame.
Prine's descriptive words paint scenes that play out in a visual, movie-like manner. Omens unfolding one after another.
When the angels sang. And that's why I felt really good as a writer. I really felt really good about the song because it fulfilled every intention I had. I was going for this really odd feeling that you know with a relationship something's not right. I wanted to be able to get that feeling and capture it, you know, in a kind of a cinematic quality. And when I wrapped it up with that chorus. And the sky's black and still now. Up on the hill when the angels sing. I thought, that's it, man. I just broke into Hank Williams' casket. But it's far, far from me.
Do you feel like you only got a certain number of songs in you? Or is that just the aging process that you get older?
Mike, I always feel like every song's the last song. I do. And then some of them that are so simple, I can't understand why I don't write 20 a day. I like writing when you're done with it. And I like it when you're really wrapped up in it. There's nothing else in the world that can keep you from it. But the rest of the time, I hate it. I'll do anything. Anybody calls me up and says, hey, you want to go outside and look at a caterpillar? Oh, yeah, you. You know, I'll write this song next month, you know. Yeah. I would do anything to get out of it. Because to me, it's a real chore.
A chore that became a gift.
You and me, sitting in the back of my memory.
Well, I'm obviously biased, but I think he's one of the greats. I mean, I think he's kind of the Mark Twain of modern folk music.
I used to sleep at the foot of Old Glory and awake on the dawn's early light.
Being an American has always been foremost in what I do, you know. When I go to Europe and play, you know, as well as I get accepted, I'm constantly reminded that I'm an American. That's when I feel really good about being American, you know, is when I'm in another country, you know. I'm glad I understand how the world looks at us. I understand that we're brash and too loud and, you know, and don't always do the right thing and this and that. But the story that I tell, definitely the American story. That's where my characters come from. A young man from a small town with a very large imagination.
Fictional characters you care about. John Prine's care for the creative process reveals much about his character and the value of his example to artists of the next generation, and to his children.
I told him the worst possible thing you can do is to write a song, write a book, paint a picture that you don't really like all that much yourself. I said, because it might become a success, and then you'll have to repeat that all through your life.
The scientific nature of the ordinary man is to go on out and do the best you can.
I don't write every day. I'm not one of those people. I don't write unless I'm going to keep it. I very rarely go, oh yeah, I wrote a song last week, but I didn't like it. I mean, I would rather go out for a hot dog, than write a song I didn't like, Thank you very much. Oh, the glory of true love is a wild and precious thing. It don't grow on old magnolias or only blossom in the spring. No, the glory of true love is it will last your whole life through and never will go out of fashion. Always will look good on you.
Funding for In Common with Mike Leonard is provided by the Carmel Club Foundation, supporters of the art of storytelling. The Telling Well is where you can find full episodes of In Common with Mike Leonard, along with more stories about common people of uncommon character. Visit us at thetellingwell.org.